Welcome to the deep dive. If you are focused on scaling a technology company, well, you probably know there's one hiring decision that can really determine success or failure: the VP of sales.
Absolutely. It's a pivotal role.
Yeah, this single role is responsible for, a massive challenge, transitioning a business from, unpredictable founder-led selling,
Which can be chaotic.
right, to a scalable, repeatable, and frankly, a predictable revenue engine.
It's probably the highest stakes hire a startup makes once they've found that initial product market fit. It really is.
And today, we are giving you a massive shortcut.
We are. Our sources today are this deep set of screening questions, the kind used to vet elite candidates for this exact high-pressure role.
So this isn't just theory then.
Not at all. It's the strategic playbook, really, distilled into actionable knowledge. What do the best actually do?
Okay, so our mission here is pretty simple. We're going to analyze these sources, pull out the core strategies for assessing the situation, building the team, achieving scale.
All focused on measurable outcomes, things you can actually track.
Exactly. You are essentially getting the masterclass on what great looks like in this position. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with those crucial first 3 months. A VP of sales walks into a company trying to scale.
Yeah.
They've got to hit the ground running, right?
Absolutely, no time to waste.
So what's the sequence? That balance between discovery, learning the ropes, and actual execution of that 90-day plan.
It's all about calculated sequencing.
Yeah.
And judgment, really. They have to show they can create some early traction while they're still learning the business. It's a very structured plan, usually.
Structured how?
Well, days 1 through 30, that's purely diagnostic. It's what we often call the listening tour.
Right, the listening tour.
They're talking to customers, the founders, the existing reps, if any. They're digging into the CRM, the funnel data.
Okay.
And crucially, they articulate a draft ideal customer profile, an ICP.
Hold on, let's pause there. For listeners maybe less deep in B2B talk, what exactly is the ICP, and why is getting even a draft out so fast?
Good question. So the ICP, ideal customer profile, it's the core definition of the company type you sell to best. Who feels the most pain from the problem you solve? Who gets the most value from your solution? And importantly, who has the budget? It's urgent because without that definition, all your sales efforts are just scattered. Random shots. The VP needs to immediately put together a draft value narrative based on that draft ICP, just so reps know what to say.
That sounds like a ton of information intake, though.
Yeah.
And the clock's ticking. You said the plan is ambitious.
It is.
If they're spending 30 days just listening and drafting, aren't they potentially sacrificing some short-term momentum, revenue?
That's the tension they manage. It's constant balance. But they leverage that learning immediately to structure the next 30 days. So days 31 through 60, that's the pilot phase.
Pilot phase, okay.
They use that draft ICP to pilot an outbound program. They tighten up qualification standards, often dramatically. They start to codify the sales process, which might be messy.
Usually is.
Usually is, yeah. And they establish probably the most critical operational piece: a weekly forecast cadence and a dashboard. Because you absolutely cannot scale what you can't measure or predict.
Right, makes sense. And then wrapping up that first quarter, the last 30 days.
That's refinement and scale prep. Days 61 to 90, they're refining pricing, packaging, based on what they learned in the pilot. They finalize the hiring plan. And this is key, they lock down a truly repeatable playbook.
While still needing to bring in deals.
Oh, yeah. While doing all this systems building, they absolutely must drive a few strategic lighthouse wins. Then significant deals that build confidence internally and externally. It proves the system they're building actually works.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. How do VPs define and validate that ICP when maybe the market's still pretty unclear? Maybe they're relying on just a handful of deals the founder closed personally.
Yeah, that early ambiguity is tough.
How do they inject analytical rigor into that?
Yeah.
I feel squishy.
They have to treat it like a scientific experiment. You start with your internal hypotheses, sure, what the founder thinks, but then you immediately move to testing. The VP needs to run, say, 20 to 30 rapid customer interviews. And these aren't just chats. They're focused on quantifying the pain, identifying the triggers, finding the real budget owners.
This is big and deep.
Deep. And you pair that with internal win-loss analysis. Why did we win those few deals? Why did we lose others? And maybe some short, sharp outbound experiments. See which messages resonate with which segments.
So it sounds like disciplined iteration, not waiting for some perfect moment of clarity.
Exactly. Perfection is the enemy here. The goal isn't perfect on day one. The mandate is Publish a workable ICP and segmentation rubric within, say, 4 to 6 weeks.
And that rubric drives things.
It drives territories, messaging, priorities, and they commit to revisiting it, maybe monthly, as more data inevitably rolls in. It's a living document early on.
Okay, so that clarity helps define who to sell to. Now, the next massive hurdle, moving from that, founder magic. Those amazing, sometimes unrepeatable deals the CEO closes.
Yeah, the ones nobody else can seem to replicate.
Exactly. How do you transition that into a scalable system, something a new account executive hire can actually use without letting the momentum just die?
The founder is, in a way, the first piece of intellectual property the VP of sales needs to capture. That magic, it needs to be documented. Shattering. The VP literally needs to shadow the founder on calls for maybe a couple of weeks. Record patterns. What questions do they ask in discovery? How do they handle objections? What proof points on value do they use?
Okay, observing patterns.
Yes. And those observations get translated immediately into a draft playbook. Talk tracks, key questions, common objections, and responses.
But wait, the founder's time is incredibly precious,
Right.
super limited.
Yeah.
If the VP is demanding 2 weeks of shadowing, systemizing, isn't that a huge drag on the founder actually closing those big strategic deals they need?
It absolutely is a potential drag. It's a necessary but short-term tax on their capacity, which is why the VP has to move fast with this.
Right.
And to mitigate the drag, while that playbook is being built, they pilot it quickly, maybe with just 2 strong AEs, run intense weekly deal reviews based on that draft playbook.
And the founder.
You keep the founder focused only on a small number of the most strategic deals, the ones that truly require their executive presence. This lets the system building happen without slamming the brakes on current revenue.
Let's talk methodology then.
Yeah.
We hear terms like Medi-ICC, Challenger, these qualification frameworks. How does an elite VP take a concept like, say, Med-ICC and actually translate it into measurable daily behavior for your young team? It can feel abstract.
They bake it right into the operational system. It can't just be a training session. They pick their framework. Let's stick with Medi-ICC, metrics, economic buyer, decision criteria, and so on.
Okay.
And they map those fields directly into the CRM. But here's the critical part. Those fields are then made required for stage progression in this sales cycle.
Required fields.
Exactly. You literally cannot move a deal from, say, stage 2 discovery to stage 3 evaluation unless the required Medi-ICC seals are filled out and validated.
So it becomes part of the process, not just a concept.
Precisely. It turns the methodology from philosophy into an operational checklist. It becomes the backbone of deal reviews, coaching sessions, sales enablement. It's how work gets done.
That rigor sounds crucial, especially when we talk about forecasting, which is, the ultimate measure of predictability for the CEO and the board.
It really is.
How do VPs create confidence in their forecast, especially when the underlying data in a startup is often, messy?
Yeah, early data is rarely clean. It requires transparency, discipline, and data validation. They run a bottom-up forecast model. That means each rep forecasts their deals.
Okay.
And you need crystal clear definitions. What exactly constitutes a commit deal versus best case versus just pipeline? No ambiguity allowed.
And how is that validated? Gut feel.
No gut feel. It's validated by 2 main things. 1, actual historical stage conversion data. What percentage of deals actually move from stage 3 to stage 4 in your business?
Okay, data-driven.
And 2, the completeness of those operationalized methodology fields we just talked about, like Medi-ICC. A commit deal better have the economic buyer identified and confirmed, right?
That makes sense. What kind of accuracy are they shooting for?
The goal mentioned often is within 5 to 8% accuracy on that commit number they give the board.
Wow, that's tight.
It is. And to achieve that, they hold non-negotiable weekly forecast calls, rigorous, with a risk register for each deal. And they often require a mutual close plan for anything in commit.
A mutual close plan.
Yeah, basically a document co-created with the prospect outlining all the remaining steps, dates, and responsibilities to get the deal signed. It forces reality checks. It moves forecasting from hopeful guessing to data-driven scenario planning.
Speaking of data and reality checks, let's dive into a high-pressure scenario from the sources. Picture this. It's week 5 of the quarter. You look at your pipeline coverage. It's only 1.8x.
Oof.
Yeah, and the target's 3x. Plus, you've got limited budget, small brand recognition. That sounds like Titanic time.
That is a really tough spot, a brutal situation. It definitely tests the VP's ability to triage under pressure.
So what's the playbook? The 30-day high-yield tactical fix when resources are that tight.
You need surgical high-yield actions. No time for broad strokes. First, you halt all the unfocused scattershot activity. Immediately launch a focused, maybe 2-week outbound sprint, but targeted only at your absolute top ICP segment, laser focus.
Okay, focus the effort.
Second, you immediately pull in the heavy hitters. Get the founders, get the VP themselves involved in executive-to-executive outreach, bypass the gatekeepers on those key accounts.
Yeah, use that seniority.
Third, you do an aggressive audit of your pipeline. Find those stalled deals, the ones marked no decision that just died quietly. You revive them. Re-engage with a razor-sharp, updated ROI narrative.
Try and resurrect them.
Exactly. And finally, the VP has to roll up their sleeves. They personally jump into all late-stage calls, help accelerate commitment, push those final deals over the line. It's truly all hands on deck for a rapid rescue mission.
Wow, intense. That requires huge internal organization.
Stepping back a bit to strategy, how does a great VP of sales align tightly with marketing? So they aren't, two separate armies doing their own thing, but one unified go-to-market engine.
Yeah, that silo problem is classic.
Yeah.
They have to actively dismantle those silos using shared goals and clear mechanisms. It starts with setting shared pipeline targets, not separate lead targets for marketing and revenue targets for sales.
Shared pipeline goals. Okay.
Then, crystal clear definitions for MQL marketing qualified lead flowing into SQL sales qualified lead, what constitutes qualified. And then you set up service level agreements, SLAs, around that handover, SLAs. What did those actually look like?
They're basically formalized agreements on timing and responsibility. For instance, marketing agrees to deliver X number of leads meeting Y quality criteria each week, and sales agrees to follow up on, say, 90% of those sequels within Z hours.
Ah, so mutual accountability.
Exactly. It eliminates the finger pointing. They should also co-own content themes for campaigns and run non-optional weekly funnel reviews together to look at the whole process.
But inevitably, you get the classic dispute, right? Lead quality. Sales says the leads marketing sends are bad.
And marketing says sales isn't working them properly or fast enough. Yeah, happens all the time.
So how do top VPs handle that friction productively?
Data over emotion, every time. When lead quality seems off, you don't argue opinions. You diagnose the issue using specifics, pull actual call snippets, look at conversion data by lead source or campaign.
Find the real problem.
Right. Which specific messaging failed? Which segment didn't convert? Then you adjust the targeting, the messaging, the qualification criteria together with marketing. It becomes a joint problem-solving exercise using measurable metrics.
Okay, makes sense. Let's talk about the final external alignment piece. Product. How does sales effectively influence the product roadmap without just becoming a constant distraction, demanding feature after feature, or derailing the core development focus?
It needs structure. Lightweight governance is key. Often, sales forms a monthly GTM product council with product leadership.
Council, okay.
And the rule for sales is simple. You don't bring individual feature requests like, my prospect wants a blue button. It doesn't work.
So what do they bring?
They bring quantified requests. They need to show the annual recurring revenue, the ARR that's at stake if a feature isn't built, or the churn risk associated with a missing capability, or the specific competitive gap causing losses.
Tie it to revenue impact.
Precisely. This forces product to listen because the request is framed in terms of business impact, not just one salesperson's wish list. Then, they often agree on a structured roadmap allocation, maybe like a 7 or 20-10 split.
70-20-10.
Yeah, something like 70% of development resources go to the core product roadmap and stability, 20% to agreed upon growth features, often influenced by these quantified sales requests, and maybe 10% for new experiments or tech debt. It ensures sales gets input but doesn't hijack the whole ship.
Okay, let's shift gears fully to the people side. Org design, hiring judgment, especially at this critical early scaling stage. Which roles does the VP typically hire first? And what kind of profile are they looking for? It can't be just anyone.
No, definitely not. At this early, often messy stage, the initial team structure is usually pretty lean. Typically, it might start with maybe 2 full-cycle AEs.
Full cycle.
Meaning they handle the deal from the very first touch, prospecting maybe, all the way through discovery, demo negotiation, to close. They own the whole thing.
Got it.
So, 2 of those. Maybe 1 SDR, a sales development rep, specifically to rigorously test and build out an outbound prospecting motion. And probably just fractional sales engineering support initially.
And the type of person.
The profile they're looking for is often called a builder athlete.
Builder athlete.
Yeah, these are people comfortable with ambiguity, high agency, They can prospect, run discovery, demo effectively, close deals, and maybe even help draft some marketing collateral if needed. They need high ownership and resilience, not just polished closers who need everything handed to them.
Right, they need to be adaptable. Given they're hiring these builder athletes who need some flexibility, how does the VP ensure new hires are onboarded effectively and consistently? You need some structure.
Absolutely. Onboarding can't be sink or swim, even for athletes. It needs to be structured but intense. Usually includes a focused, maybe 2-week curriculum.
Covering what?
Deep dives on the ICP, the product ins and outs, the sales methodology, practicing the talk tracks, and then shadowing.
Yep.
Shadowing existing top performers, listening to calls. But crucially, the ramp plan, how they get measured early on, it must align to real pipeline metrics, not just number of calls made. You track milestones tied to actual stage progression, qualified opportunities generated, maybe even first deals closed. And it's supported by weekly focused coaching to really cement the right behaviors early.
And what does that ongoing coaching rhythm look like? Because it's easy, I imagine, to just focus on the numbers, the forecast.
It is, but the best VPs know behavior drives the numbers. They run weekly 1.1s, yes, but they are not just forecasting updates.
What else happens?
They focus heavily on call coaching, actually listening to recorded calls together, reviewing pipeline hygiene, is the CRM up to date, are next steps clear, and setting specific behavioral goals tied back to the methodology and metrics. Like, are they asking the right discovery questions? Are they consistently creating mutual close plans on late-stage deals?
And dealing with underperformance. In a small, high-visibility team, that must be tough. How do they handle that fairly but also, firmly?
Yeah, it's critical. If performance lags consistently, even after good enablement and coaching, they need to act. Immediately implement a structured performance improvement plan, a PIP. Maybe 30, 60, 90 days.
Okay.
It has to be transparent with clear, measurable milestones.
Right.
What needs to change, by when, and provide support. But if progress still stalls, they need to move decisively and respectfully, make the change.
Right, so decisive.
Because sustained low performance in a small team is toxic. It quickly infects the culture, drags down morale, and demoralizes your high performers. The bar for excellence has to remain high, especially early on.
Makes sense. Okay, final piece here. Compensation. Comp plans.
Yeah.
How do VPs design these to drive the right behaviors, maybe getting multi-year deals or selling higher ACV deals while keeping it simple enough to understand and motivating?
Yeah, complexity is the enemy of motivation in comp plans. Simplicity really works best. They tend to favor simple structures, often a 50-50 split between base salary and variable OTE on-target earnings.
Okay, 50-50 standard.
Pretty standard. Then, to drive specific behaviors, you use accelerators. Meaningful bumps in commission rate for exceeding quota. And, crucially, maybe kickers or accelerators for things like multi-year contracts or deals above a certain ACV threshold.
So you reward the desired outcomes.
Exactly. But simple doesn't mean unprotected. You need guardrails. Things like a clear discounting matrix. Reps can only discount so much without needing escalating approvals. Maybe clawbacks if a customer churns very rapidly after signing.
Right.
The overall goal is that every rep understands exactly how they win, how they make money, and that winning maps directly to the company's strategic need for sustainable, high-quality revenue. Hashtag tag outro.
This has been an incredibly rich dive into, well, the operational DNA of a scaling VP of sales. If I were to summarize, it feels like the sources show this role really revolves around maybe 3 core pillars.
I think that's right.
Clarity, getting that ICP right, having that solid 90-day plan. Repeatability built through that operationalized playbook, the methodology baked into the CRM. And accountability enforced through rigorous forecasting and firm performance management.
Nailed it. And if you were actually looking at this VP's dashboard, the really elite ones, they obsess over durable growth metrics, not just top-line bookings.
Okay, beyond just the bookings number.
Yeah. They track pipeline coverage, conversion rates, win rate, average contract value, ACV, absolutely. But they also obsess over key efficiency metrics.
Could you walk us through those efficiency metrics just briefly? What are they looking at?
Sure. 2 big ones are net revenue retention, NRR. That tracks revenue growth from your existing customer base, upsells, cross-sells, minus churn. The target there is often north of 100%, maybe 120% in great sauce businesses.
So growing from within.
Exactly. And the other is customer acquisition costs, payback period.
Yeah.
How many months of gross margin does it take to recoup the cost of acquiring that customer? You want that number to be as low as possible, ideally under 12 months.
Right, efficiency.
This whole efficiency lens ensures they're optimizing for profitable, durable growth, rather than just, burning cash for unsustainable vanity numbers on the top line.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, What does this entire playbook mean for you listening? Whether you're a scaling leader or maybe an ambitious seller yourself. Here's the final, maybe provocative thought we want to leave you with.
Yeah, think about this trade-off.
The ultimate challenge, maybe, for a successful VP of sales is managing that transition from being a star doer to being a system builder. Yes, early on, the VP absolutely has to be comfortable jumping in, running demos, drafting collateral, handling a tricky client negotiation. They wear multiple hats.
They have to initially.
But their core strategic mandate, the thing that defines success long-term, must always be converting that necessary ad hoc personal effort into scalable assets, playbooks, templates, training modules, better processes, systems, things that outlive their personal involvement in every single deal.
That conversion piece is everything.
Right. That conversion from personal heroic effort to a reliable, scalable system, that's the fundamental difference between just being a great individual seller and becoming a truly great leader of scale.